all of us have within us something that we think is our friend. We think that we are it, and it's very sneaky, as was pointed out by the gentleman, sorry, don't know your name, over at There Are No Sides. The ego. We all have an ego, and it can be difficult to distinguish between the voice of ego and the voice of spirit, the voice of intuition and knowingness. And I wanted to make this video about relationships, and are you letting your ego wreak havoc in your life and create unnecessary friction in your relationships? How does the ego do this? How does the ego create friction in relationships? One of the ways it does that is when there's been a disagreement with somebody, we hold that person. It's kind of like taking that person into the gutter of our own mind. And then what we do when we do that, say we've had an argument with someone, or someone's behaviour has got to us in a certain way, pushed our buttons in some way, we're in a mood with that person, and then when we've left the situation and gone home, when we think about that person, we think about their behaviour, what they said, what they did, and we completely forget that that person also has a higher potential. We've all got potential. Sometimes our behaviour, we don't demonstrate our highest selves. Now, I'm going off on tangents here, I know, but I'm kind of just speaking. I had this idea of something I could put across, and there's a saying, love me when I deserve it. How does it go? It goes, love me when I least deserve it, because that's when I need it the most. So, you know, love me when I least deserve it. You know, that person that annoyed you, you know, we don't know what challenges they're going through, because they're under the influence of their own ego as well in that moment when they reacted to you. And, you know, that person needs our love. I'm talking, don't take me out of context, you know, obviously like abuse and stuff like that is that involves all sorts of other dynamics. I'm talking about, you know, general disagreements with people, maybe in your workplace or in your relationship. You know, maybe that person needs our love and understanding. That's it. It's being in your relationships with a willingness to at least try to understand where they may be coming from, because you understand and love yourself through the battles you have with yourself and your own ego, and that bit of leeway that you give yourself, you can give to others. So by understanding yourself, you can understand others, you can love others unconditionally, and that's going to help a lot. So if you've had like a bit of a tiff with somebody, you know, take them out of the gutter of your mind. Okay, and that's going to help when you go back to work or back to wherever. That's going to help when you meet that person, because you know, we are all brothers and sisters, and that person is you, because reality is filtered through our belief system. So we're creating this reality. You know, everything is a mirror of what's going on within us. And that's just bare bones fact that everyone is in their own perception bubble. Even you hearing my words, when you hear my words, it's going in through your ears, it's being processed, it's being filtered through the belief system, and then we form our own perception of what is being said. So what I'm saying right now will be music to somebody's ears, and to someone else it's like irritating them just hearing my voice and what I'm saying, and they'll want to, you know, write a comment like, oh, you said this, and that's not to say that we can't have an opinion on something and say to someone, hey, you know, you said this and I think it's this way, and but without it turning into a battle of I'm right and I want to prove that I'm right and I know more than you. And that's in relationships as well. You know, just let it go. It took me a long time, but I've managed to, like, I'll let the other person be right. Just for the sake of, like, you know, whoa, you know, I can't be dealing with this. I just let that other person be right, and I'll go downstairs and I'll make a cup of tea. You know, rather than being sucked in, allowing your ego to suck you in. Eckhart calls this the pain body. Rather than allowing my ego to get sucked into it, and whenever I've done that, it takes away energy, because then you don't feel good. Your feathers have been ruffled. We allow other people to ruffle our feathers, and you know, I'm not making judgments here. It's with seeing that, then we can take the power back. When we can see what is happening, the drama that's being played out, then the goal then is to just be aware and be at the center. And you know, meeting people, giving people that bit of a leeway. That person may be having a real shit day, and that's why they're behaving that way. So how do you do that? How do you stay centered and observe the ego without getting drawn in? It takes practice, and everyone, I guess, has their own way of doing this. There's meditation, yoga, just the intent really to be aware is all you need to start with. And that's like, when it's happening with me, it's kind of like a feeling of being in the center of a storm. And if you watch the clip over at There Are No Sides, when he's in the elevator, when the character is in the elevator and his ego's saying all this stuff to him, and he's just remaining unperturbed by it. I hope, did I say that right? Yeah? Being in the center of the storm. So you can just sit there, you notice your ego will say this, or you might be in the car, yeah, somebody, I don't know, cuts you up, and you and your ego says, you know what it says, you can still carry on driving, and you can say, oh, my ego called him an idiot. You just notice it. That's the voice of the ego. It's in survival mode. And you know, these are the old paradigms that you're going to see starting to fall away. You know, survival, lack, competition. It's changing in the business world, okay, albeit slowly, but it's changing. You're starting to hear the word collaboration more often. There's a saying, if you haven't got anything good to say about somebody, don't say anything at all. And it's good advice. Getting drawn into gossip is so easy. Unless you make a strong conscious decision, you're not going to get drawn into that, but it's so easy to get drawn into gossip and this person that, and they said this and they're that, and you know, I try my best not to get drawn into that. And Andy mentioned this on one of his videos at his workplace. Just try not to get drawn into that. It can be easy, but don't do it, because it doesn't lead to anything good. That's not to say that there's anything wrong in saying, when this person said this, it made me feel this way and it led to, you know, there's nothing wrong with being objective, but you don't want the emotional charge behind it. I think that's when it becomes gossip, when there's an emotional charge and there's blame and the pointing of the finger. That's a different thing completely. You know, this is the place where we can see the ego for what it is. We can transcend the ego, and that's the journey that we're all on, to reach enlightenment. Some people may not call it enlightenment, but you know, to progress and grow spiritually is something that we're all doing to one degree or another, whether we know it or we don't know it. Anyway, that's about it, guys. I wanted to say about that. Just remember to, and now when I say that, when I say think about that person as their highest potential, did a voice within you say, oh, but they did this and they did that? Because that is ego. And ego will always stick up for you. Ego is very quick to point the finger, but when you point the finger, you've got these three pointing back at you. So we don't have the power to change other people, but we can change our own internal reactions, our own limiting beliefs. That's what we do have the power to change. Now, if it was abuse, you know, if that person abused you, I don't mean condone their behavior. I'm not condoning their behavior. You know, what they did, you know, may have been like, you know, so not right and so wrong. I'm not condoning that. And it may, yes, it may be true that there was a time when they were doing it to you. But if there's still that emotional charge and it's causing us hurt, then that's us doing it to us. That's you doing it to you. Because when you think of that memory, you think of that person, it's inside your own, it's inside your mind. You're replaying it again, and when it's replaying in your own mind, the feeling that it's giving you is coming from your own internal references of what happened and what that means about you and the world and how you experience the world. And that's what needs to be healed within here. It needs to be healed, and that's what you do have power over. Use the tapping technique, will take away the edge of the feeling of whatever it is, will help you to heal. Anyway, that's it, guys. I'm going to leave it there. Peace. Check you on the next video.